Hi everybody, so I am coming back to do the controversial parenting tag. I saw this a couple days ago. I've seen some people doing it. I've actually watched probably 10 or 15 other moms. I just think it's very interesting to hear other people's points of view, and I also have opinions just like everybody else, and I just wanted to share kind of my views on things and let you guys know a little bit about me and parenting decisions. And I will respect other people's decisions. However, I might not agree with them, and you don't have to agree with me either, but this is how I feel about things. So the list starts with pro-life versus pro-choice, and I am pro-choice in pretty much every way possible. Like, I think it is the woman's right to choose. Now, that does not mean that I think everyone should be going out and getting abortions, or that it's a good form of birth control or anything like that. Of course, I want you to prevent first. However, there are a lot of circumstances that people don't even think about. The circumstance of a very young child getting raped at like 9, 10, 11 years old, or even if they weren't raped, like a child that young, it's not safe for them to carry a baby. Also, the circumstances of health issues, like sometimes it puts the mom in danger. Her carrying the child can kill her. Yes, it's rare, I get that, but it does happen. Or there's other even more serious and devastating things, like a lady in one of my birth clubs a while back. She was about as far along as me, and so probably at 24 or 25 weeks, which is way far along, they found out that the child she was carrying had all kinds of issues. Like, he didn't have a nose, he didn't have use of half of his brain, and if he made it through birth and lived through that, then he would never have any quality of life. He would never be able to function and even do simple things like breathing. So why, in that situation, which people never think about that, it cannot be black and white. In that situation, I fully support if she would have chosen to abort. Even though it's that far along. It is kind of gruesome and sad, especially late term like that. However, why would she put herself through 3 more months of a pregnancy knowing that child is going to die? And then if the child is born, he's going to be living a very horrible life. He's not going to have any quality of life. He's going to be sick, and he's going to be suffering. So why would you let the child suffer too, when he could go on and whatever? But yes, so I'm very pro-choice. And also, and like, even, I know I'm gonna get hell for this, but even in total opposite situation, some teenage girl who is totally irresponsible and isn't on birth control and doesn't care and goes out one night and is partying and being stupid like everybody assumes everybody is who's ever gotten an abortion, goes out and gets pregnant, and she has no way of taking the care of the kid, nobody to help her, and honestly has no desire to do the things you should be doing in pregnancy, doesn't take vitamins, doesn't care, continues to smoke, drink, whatever. Honestly, that child's probably not going to live a very good life either. And I totally would rather somebody be good in their pregnancy and give birth to a healthy baby and give it to a better family. But I think it's their choice, and I do not feel it's right to judge anybody's choice on that until you have been in that situation. Moving on, because that was a very long rant. The next topic is baby wearing, which I don't see how anybody would be against it, really. From everything that I've understood, it's very good for baby and mommy. I did not do it with my daughter at all, but I definitely want to try this time. and I only see good benefits out of it. I don't see any negative whatsoever, so I am definitely for that. Next thing would be circumcision. So, and I'm having a boy, so this is something that I have looked into a lot this time. I did not even research it at all with my daughter. I think I knew in the back of my head I was having a girl. However, at that point in my life, had I had a boy, I probably would have circumcised, because that was just what was normal and I didn't know any different. So then, upon becoming pregnant this time, I had a feeling that we were having a boy this time, and I almost immediately started diving into the circumcision topics, and we really have done a lot of research about it, and there's no medical reason for it. It's purely cosmetic. I see no point. Why are you gonna hurt your child when he has no say in that? You don't know if he's gonna grow up and have wanted that done. Probably not. I don't know anybody, I've never heard of anyone who was intact saying, I wish that they would have cut me. You know, it's just, I don't think so. So, but it's just really not your decision, and I think that the child, when he gets to be an adult, if he wants to do that, then that is totally fine. But I am not going to do it to my child. And the only reason I even think it's okay is for religious reasons, and even that kind of makes me sad. However, I understand that some people think, you know, Jewish people believe that that's what you're supposed to do via the Bible, and I can respect that. But the people who do it just because they think it looks better, or they're grossed out by an intact penis, that makes me very upset, and I do not agree with it at all, under any circumstances. So we will be leaving our little boy intact this time. Thank goodness we got the information we needed to know before we had a boy. The next thing is adoption. I think adoption is wonderful. I think it's great if you become pregnant with a child and you cannot take care of them, and you don't need, you know, to be raising a child. If you can be strong and give your child up for adoption so that they can have a better family and a better life, that is awesome. Also, on the other hand, if you are somebody who can give the child a better life and adopt a child, I think that is wonderful. I really think that there's so many children out there up for adoption that are not living very good lives. And so not only, like, I think it's a two-way street. You can't say, I love adoption, give your kid up for adoption. A lot of people, especially if they're pro-life, will say that. But then, you know, there's a lot of kids that aren't getting adopted, and it's really sad, especially older kids. So please, also, if you are able, think about adopting a child. We may or may not in the future. Probably not, because we did have our own children. However, if you can, then I think that is an awesome thing to do. And I totally respect anybody who is either adopted or have adopted out, either way. So the next question would be baby piercing, and oh goodness, this is something that I have very mixed thoughts on. Like I've kind of heard others say, I don't think it's comparable to circumcision. There's a huge difference there, and I don't really think that it's that it's a horrible thing or anything. However, my daughter, we got her ears pierced when she was 2 months old. No problems. She did not even hardly fuss at all. She didn't cry. She just like kind of whined for a tiny little bit. She did great. We were able to take care of her ears. We were able to get everything healed up. No issues, no complications. Perfect. But looking back, I think it should have been her choice. And If I were to ever have another girl, I would not do it again. I've just kind of had a change of heart on the idea, and I just think, you know, I really don't think my daughter is going to, like, be mad at me that I got her ears pierced as a little child, but who knows? So I kind of, you know, there's part of me that regrets that, but it's done and it's over with, and I don't think it's a horrible thing to pierce your child's ears. However, if put in the situation again, I would not do it. So the next thing, breast milk versus formula. 100% breast milk. You need to breastfeed. I don't care. And it's just the way it is. Formula is made from cow's milk. Cow's milk is for baby cows, not for humans. If you cannot breastfeed and that's what you have to do, then that's what you have to do. I mean, feed that baby, you know, obviously. Don't let the kids starve because you can't breastfeed. But if you are just choosing to formula feed because you don't want to deal with the work of breastfeeding, that's very sad to me. And I have huge regrets about my breastfeeding experiences with Evelyn, which maybe I will go into another video about that some other time. But I have huge regrets about it, and I think you should breastfeed as long as possible. I am an advocate for extended breastfeeding, as long as you can. I mean, nursing as long as you can. When you stop nursing, I think it's better, honestly, to be pumping that breast milk and giving your baby breast milk instead of cow's milk, even when they're older. If you can do it. That's a lot of dedication and work, and I understand that is not for everybody. However, I do think that's the best thing. I mean, research everywhere just proves that breast milk is 100% better than anything else you can do. And formula is second best. So if you have to do that, you have to do that. And I ended up having to do that. But I would not choose it. I would not choose it for my child to be on formula. Next, spanking. I kind of have mixed feelings on the spanking. I have my associates in early childhood education. Everything has taught me no to spanking. However, I grew up and I was spanked a few times. Now, not often, and I don't think it should be done often, if at all. However, the times that it did happen, because it was so rare and because, you know, other things happened first, if I was to get spanked, it was a huge deal. I did something horrible. Like, and I can remember, I can probably count on one hand how many times I was spanked, and I remember to this day exactly what I did every time. So, I don't think it's wrong in all circumstances. However, I definitely think there's way better ways. I don't think it should be your first resort. I think people need to talk to their children, and people need to realize what they're expecting out of their children and try to do things that are age appropriate. You can't expect your 1-year-old to know not to climb something. They're 1. You can't get mad at them. You can't be spanking them. Really, you can't do much anything there except for try to teach them that it's wrong. And that is the thing. Discipline is to teach. So we need to try to teach them in every other way possible. I mean, talk to them about what they've done. Make them understand why it's wrong. Most kids, when they do something wrong, they're not trying to be bad kids. They truly don't understand that it's wrong. So you have to, you know, take little steps. And then, you know, if you have talked to them and talked to them over the same thing over and over, and your kid is quite a bit older, and, you know, and you've done the timeouts and you've taken away privileges and you've talked and talked and talked, and this is like offense number who knows how many, 10 or whatever, and you think you need to pop them on the butt, I'm not gonna think you're a bad mom for that. I'm not. However, I would prefer people don't, but I understand the circumstances where it might feel like that is what is needed, and I don't think it's wrong if it's used, obviously not in a beating way, and very rarely as like a very, very last resort. Next thing, co-sleeping. I think out of everybody else's videos I've watched, I don't know that anybody has been against co-sleeping, and I am. I think that it's not a good idea. I worked in a daycare and we had to watch several videos, and it is a huge risk for SIDS, and it is so scary to me that a tiny baby is sleeping with their parents, with the blankets, the pillows, everything. And I've heard a lot of moms say that like they're light sleepers and they can feel them breathing and they feel safer that way. And I do believe them. I think that they probably do. However, to me, it is such a big scare, and I've seen too many videos and too many stories about children dying or, bad things happening because the child was in bed with them. And I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. I'm very strict on our bedtime rules. When Evelyn didn't get a blanket or anything until she was 9 months old or older. She was in her sleep sack, in her crib, by herself, and she did great. And I also think it's good, especially as kids get older, to have that independence and not need to be with mom. So if you're co-sleeping, they're going to be dependent. If you're okay with that, if you are fine with your baby sleeping with you until they're dang near teenagers, then good for you. I don't prefer it. And I actually was co-slept with when I was a child, and I co-slept until I was probably 10. But I will not be doing it with my children, and I do not think it is a good idea. However, if I do also at the same time, even though I don't think it's a good idea, I do understand that pretty much most moms know what's best for their kid, and if they feel safe with it and they feel comfortable with it, then I am sure they probably do know what they're talking about. And I'm hoping that they are doing it in the most safest way possible. And there are some safer ways to co-sleep than not. But for me, it's a no. We will not co-sleep. Next question. Home versus public versus private versus charter schooling. And this is something that I really am not that strongly opinionated about. My husband was homeschooled. I went to public school for the most part. I went to private school for a little while. No idea what charter schooling is, so I don't know what to say there, but obviously we'll need to do more research on this. However, for the time being, my thoughts is that my kids will probably go to public school. I mean, that is real life. While there might be some things there that I don't like as much, they're going to have to learn to deal with things they don't like all through their lives. And so we will probably send our children to public schools. Now, if there becomes issues and it becomes scary, or, or my kids are getting bullied or just anything like that where I don't like it anymore, I'm 100% okay with doing the private school thing or doing the homeschool thing. I would prefer the private school thing just for social aspects and everything. However, I am okay with homeschooling too. I really am not set in stone on anything. In fact, if we had tons of money to be spending on just all kinds of stuff, we might even private school from the get-go. But at this point, I just don't think it's that huge of a priority. So we will, as of now, we will probably send our children to public schools. Next question, vaccinations. I vaccinate fully, pretty much. Once again, I was in early childhood classes, and I was a director, and we had to take classes at the hospitals and classes, everywhere else, and I learned a lot about the vaccinations and what they're for. And now that more and more people aren't vaccinating, things are at a higher risk, and so that's scary to me. Now, when people weren't vaccinating but everybody else was, of course it wasn't much of a risk because everyone there around was vaccinated. But nowadays, there are more people not vaccinating, and I understand their reasonings for that. However, I'm not putting my child at that risk. I think there's more good to bad in vaccinating, and as of now, we are fully vaccinating, and I don't foresee that changing. However, if you choose not to vaccinate, that's your choice, and I just really hope that it works out for you and that nothing serious ever happens. So, next question is medicating children. This question can go so many different ways. You know, in one aspect, if my kid is sick and I've done everything I can think of, I'm going to medicate my kid. Now, I give them Tylenol or cold medicine or whatever is what I mean by that. Now, if they, you know, are just starting to get a runny nose or something, I'm going to try to do other things first. I'm going to do, you know, other things because I don't like putting stuff into my, giving my kids stuff that they don't really necessarily need and then making them dependent on it. And personally, for my own life, I never use medicine of any kind, ever. Except for that I'm vaccinated. But other than that, I don't use anything. So I would prefer my kids not to. However, if they're really sick, I want them to get better and I'm going to use it. Now, in other situations, like diagnosing children for different disorders and stuff, like ADD, ADHD, you know, hypertension, like all that kind of stuff, I really think it's overdone. And especially in young children, like age 2 to 6 or 7, you know, when a lot of doctors are trying to diagnose your child with ADHD and stuff like that, I just feel that it's wrong. I've been in daycares, I've worked in daycares and been around kids that are diagnosed with that, and they're just a normal kid. Kids are going to be hyper. Kids are going to have problems paying attention. They're going to, you know, be a little wild. They're going to make you mad. That's what kids do. I don't think there's anything wrong with those children. If there is something seriously wrong, then I would even still use medicating them as a last resort, especially in situations like that where it's not a true illness. Because there's other things that you can do to help them, and you can learn your child and you can help them. However, once they're older, and if it obviously is not just a misdiagnosis, but there really truly is something wrong, and you have done all the other aspects that you can to try and help him and try to make him do better, and you choose to use medication, whatever it may be, of course with your doctor's permission, then I'm okay with that, and I'm glad that we have stuff like that. I just think in a lot of situations it is not fully necessary, but I'm so glad we have it, and if you need to do it, you need to do it, and if you can get around it without doing it, then that's even better, in my opinion. Next question, cloth versus disposable diapers. We use cloth diapers, and we started using cloth diapers when Evelyn was 4 months old. I am not against disposables though. I don't think they're as good for your baby, but I don't think it's a bad mommy choice if you use disposable diapers. Whatever, it's not a big deal. However, we do cloth diaper and we love it. My daughter has some skin issues. She has done much better since we've switched to cloth. And yes, you have to wash the diapers, but honestly, I spend less than 30 minutes a week doing diaper stuff. It's not a huge hassle. It's super easy. It saves a ton of money. Cheaper when you buy them. Then when you're done, you can turn around and sell them. It's just all kinds of great stuff. So we cloth diaper and we love it, and we will continue to cloth diaper any children that we ever have. So, and the very last question is the cry it out method. I think it's wrong to let your newborn cry it out. Newborns need their moms. Newborns need to be taken care of. They are completely helpless, and at that age, Your child is not crying to manipulate you. Your child needs something. Now, it might take a minute for you to figure out what it is. And it could be something small, and it might be something that's hard to fix, you know, but they do need something. They're not just being brats or whatever. So I am against it for little children. However, once they get to the age like 6 to 9-ish months, they're starting to learn how to manipulate you. They're starting to learn what to do. And they can be taught right from wrong. And if they are just throwing a fit because you had to put something away and they didn't want you to, they can cry for a minute. It's not going to hurt them. I'm not going to baby my child when they're throwing a fit for a ridiculous reason. I'm going to explain to them why it's not going to happen, but I'm not going to feel bad for them and hold them and all that craziness. At nighttime, if your kid wakes up crying and they're like over 6 months old and you go in there, I would always check their diaper, and I would, you know, but really they don't typically need to be eating in the middle of the night at that point. And so I would let them cry for a little while, or maybe stay in there and try to soothe them, but keep them in their crib. That's gonna keep them learning how to self-soothe and sleep through the night so much faster and so much better. So I definitely think that it's okay for older children to an extent. Like, you know, with Evelyn, we did, when we first started doing it, we just did it for a few minutes. And then we moved on, and then we did it for a little longer. And at this point, and she's almost 13 months old, I'll let her cry for 15 minutes, sometimes 20. And typically it's not a cry, like a screaming cry. It's more of a whine. And if I know for a fact she's tired and she's been fed and she's been changed and she has been rubbing her eyes and she's exhausted, it's not going to do me any good to go back in there. She's still going to be exhausted. So to let her cry for a little while is not going to hurt anything. So I don't have a problem with it. Except for new babies. I think that's wrong. Once they get older, no issues with it whatsoever. I mean, obviously don't let your child cry and cry and cry and cry and puke and get sick and, you know, stress them out to that kind of level. That's ridiculous. But to cry for a little while to get them past things is good, in my opinion. So that was the last topic, and that is everything I have to say about all of that. I'm very glad that you guys listened and were interested in what I had to say. I'm okay if you do not agree with me. I understand, and I am open to hearing your comments. However, do not be hateful and rude. It's not going to do you any good. I'm not going to really listen to it. I'm okay with opposing comments, but be respectful with it. Don't be hateful, because what good is that? We're all moms and we all love our children, and that's the important thing. If they are loved and taken care of, then the littler issues aren't huge issues. So thank you, and I will probably be back next time. My 31-week pregnancy vlog is the next one I will be doing. So talk to you later. Bye.